Hello. So, I've been getting into tarot lately, and I actually got my first tarot deck, which is very exciting. Let me grab it real quick. Not that you guys have never seen the Rider-Waite Tarot. I did want to just make a quick video about my initial reaction to tarot and just some of my first ideas about it and my hopes for what it's going to do to me and what it's going to bring to my life. So I'm just excited about it. So I will begin, I guess. I guess I should start with why I even got the Rider-Waite Tarot. It is definitely the most familiar, I think. I think if any of us have seen the episode of Degrassi with Tara, where she pulls out the tarot cards and tells, Paige's future, or whatever it is, or any of the movies really, they all use the Rider-Waite Tarot, and we all are familiar, at least on the surface level, with the imagery involved there. And I think for the most part, in a lot of the books that you read about tarot, they're going to be dealing with the Rider-Waite deck, or at least using it as a springboard to talk about other ideas, since it is so ubiquitous among the tarot community. So I don't know if it's going to become my main deck, or if I'll ever have a main deck. But I just thought, I think also with it, let me see if I can find a good example. Okay, so here we have the Ten of Cups. I don't know if you guys can see that. For those of you who don't know, if you have been watching some videos on YouTube about tarot, then I'm sure that you guys do it, or understand it. If you guys do it yourself, then of course you understand it. So, but the cups usually represent emotion, relationships, love, family, the things that are really dealing on the emotional plane. And the 10 usually represents, I just recently learned, I've been reading or watching a lot of Kellyanne videos from the Four Queens about tarot, which she's excellent. So guys, definitely look at that. Look at the training videos, because that's where I've been getting a lot of my ideas about this, and I've been using it just as a really good springboard for learning everything else. But yeah, so the cups represent, emotions and family and relationships, and the number 10 usually represents a completion of some sort of endeavor, or really it could be anything. So when you look at this card, the image on it shows a family, a man, a woman. They seem to be in love. He has his arm wrapped around her, and two kids. The meaning of this card, of the Ten of Cups, is just perfectly represented on the card itself, in the imagery there. You don't even really have to have a knowledge of tarot to know what it's talking about. Certainly you can get deeper into the meaning through more research, but if you're just sort of fooling around, you have some friends over, you pull out the deck, you can get a very basic idea of what this card means just by the imagery. So from a beginner standpoint, that really spoke to me, just because having the imagery be so close to the actual definition, if you will, of the card will be helpful in regards to memorizing it. Using those visual / literary tools to learn it, to memorize it. So yeah, so that's why I got the Rider-Waite, and it's a classic, so hopefully it does me well. We'll see. What else do I want to talk about? It is still all very, very new to me. It's very exciting. I guess what I'll talk about next is my ideas about the purposes of tarot. People have lots of very different ideas about this, about what it means. A lot of people use it as a divinatory tool. People call it that. That's kind of what it's known for. A lot of people think that it can even tell the future. A lot of querents who go into readings expect almost sometimes for that reading to say what's going to happen, if they'll get pregnant, if their relationship will last, if they'll get that job that they've been gunning for. And you could, I guess, say that typically the reader, if they are connected to that part of themselves in a strong way, could in theory be connecting to that energy, and could in theory, I guess, present to the reader or to the querent some idea of the future. I don't know if I really believe in that. I think it really can serve a very great psychological purpose as a form of therapy and meditation, really. Especially if you're doing your own reading as meditation, I think it can be thought of in that way. But in regards to one-on-one, the reader and the querent, nothing that the cards say is set in stone. And often a reading can be almost generalized. Each card has a very specific meaning, but that meaning can stretch and be relevant to any number of situations. Let me think of an example here really quickly. Well, I mean, sort of what I was talking about with the number 10 meaning a completion of something. It could be a completion of anything. It could be a completion of a project that you've undergone. It could be a completion of your studies. It could be the completion of the consequences of an act that you did when you were younger, maybe. It could be any number of things, and it depends on the relationship that card has with the other cards in the spread for the reader to be able to understand what exactly that meaning is. And I forgot how I got to this part of the discussion. I guess I was talking about how it isn't set in stone. I mean, oh yeah, so in that way the card, like I said, has a specific meaning, but it can be related to anything, just like I did with the number 10, with the 10 in cups. So in that way it's changeable, and I think the querent also comes in and supplies their own interpretation to it as well. They're the ones who really know whatever issue it is that they're coming to the reader about, and no matter how much information they might give the reader about what exactly is happening, the information that the reader is giving to the querent is going to be filtered through the querent's own point of view, own perspective, and own understanding of the issue. Their very deeply personal understanding, and you could give them a very general idea of like presenting the card of the 10 of Cups and saying, well, this card is about completion, and perhaps you're looking for closure in regards to familial matters, or like whatever it is. It would have to depend on the spread and the other cards around it. But the reader or the querent could hear closure and immediately connect it to something else in their life or whatever it is. It's specific enough and generalized enough to be eternally capable of being interpreted, if that makes sense. So in that way, I also think that, like, you often have in spreads like the Celtic Cross, a specific part that is called, or the placeholder of that is like the future. And some people, I guess, can see that as being that this is what's going to happen, this is what you're going to face, no matter what. But I think what that card mostly signifies in that kind of spread is the culmination of all of these different elements is going to be this. But since we are still in the present, since we still make our future, you can look at all of these different pieces and all the information that the reader is trying to supply for you by reading the cards, and think, well, maybe I don't want to do it this way, or maybe the reader is right in saying, well, maybe I should be more like this, more assertive, or more caring in this situation, or whatever it is, and if you do that, if you really take that reading to heart, you couldn't, change the future. It's not set in stone. So that's one of the reasons why. I also think that it's really that part of the spread that is called the future is really more just the possibility of the future. If you keep going down this path of maybe not taking your younger sibling seriously, or not listening to your mother, or whatever the reading happens to be about, then this might be the outcome. But if you do these things like these advice cards are trying to tell you to do, the outcome might be different. So we all have our own, I think, power to change the future if the reading isn't coming out the way that we want it to come out. Then again, it could be inevitable too. We all have our lessons to face, and sometimes it's good. It's not good in the moment, but it's good later on. So, coming from the point of view of someone who is newer at this, not just newer, but brand new, and I talked a little bit about like seeing the imagery and being able to get the meaning of it, just based on the imagery itself. It's the imagery, like here, for example, this is the Two of Wands. It jumps out at you. It represents with the duality, as most twos do. But there's a level of contemplation here, and it's the pentacles. No, I'm sorry, not the pentacles. The wands. Wow. See, that's how you can tell I'm new. But I do think it has a level of contemplation with it. I've looked at this card before. It's of a man staring out, and he has the globe in his hand, and there seems to be some real conflict going on there. And all of that, it's nothing really specific, but all of that I just sort of skimmed off of just the image that's right in front of me. And I think that just shows to me like the importance of intuitiveness. Kellyanne talks a lot about being intuitive in readings, and I totally get that. And maybe I'm a bit biased because I am new, so I don't necessarily have a strong foundation of what the actual meanings are. So I am relying a lot on imagery, but I think that that's an important muscle, if you will, to build with this, because it's more than just reading the imagery of the card or somehow getting the meaning off of what you're seeing on the card. It's also opening yourself up to the mannerisms of the querent that you're reading for, the words that they're saying, if they're nervous, if they're agitated in any way, reading between the lines of what they're saying, developing that intuitiveness, that almost instinctual, knee-jerk understanding of the situation that you're creating or that you're walking into. So I really like that aspect of it. I like that as an individual, as someone who has their own experiences and their own mind, you can kind of supply the meaning. I don't think that your supplied meaning overrules the meaning of other I don't think your supplied meaning overrules the original meaning of the cards, but I do think that it can add to the original meaning of the cards and create a tarot reading experience that is unique compared to other tarot readers. Not necessarily better, but unique, different. I don't even remember if I completed any of my thoughts in this video. I was talking a little bit about the psychological benefits, right? Because I was talking about how I don't necessarily think that I can tell the future and in any specific kind of way, such as like when am I going to be pregnant or whatever it is. But I think it can have a very good psychological advantage that. It is very like therapy in that you go into the reading with a problem, perhaps, or some kind of psychological dilemma usually. Um, uh, an inability to understand what your next move should be. And so when you open up a spread, when you create a spread, and you have all these cards and they all have their different meanings, I think it can really allow not just the querent but the reader to think outside of the box on certain issues. Kellyanne, in a video that I just watched, was talking about how sometimes like you'll do a spread for love, and you'll be surprised because all these different pinnacle cards will start popping up, and pinnacles don't necessarily relate to love in any specific way. They are very earthy. They're very materialistic. They deal with the senses. They deal with finances, with business, careers, things like that. They're very much part of the earthly realm. And you might be thinking, but I'm asking about love. Why aren't I getting the cups, which is dealing with emotion and relationships? And really, there could be like several different reasons for this. One could be that you need to start looking at the pentacles through a different light, or maybe start looking at your relationship through a different light, through the light of the pentacles, through that lens. It could be showing you, I was thinking as she was talking, that, pentacles could actually have a lot to do with relationships. They deal, like I said, with the finances, and in finances you have you have currency, like money. You could be giving money, or you could be losing money, or you could be gaining money, things like that. And I think with relationships, there is a very tangible currency involved in that too, a physical currency, an emotional currency that you could be withholding or giving out, that the cards can relate to. But it's also about, like I said, or like Kellyanne said, the physical realm, the earthly realm, and that can deal with the senses, with sex, with the physical touch. So there are lots of different perspectives to be gained from the cards. And, like I said, I don't think it can define your future necessarily, but it can make you think differently about certain situations that you're dealing with, which can ultimately create a new future for you if you let it. So, yeah. Anyway, I know very little, like I said. I'm very excited to start learning some more. I haven't gotten any books yet. Like I said, I went through Kellyanne's Training Tarot videos, which is actually on her YouTube. I think it's under Tarot Training or something like that. There's a whole playlist, and it's very good. I think what she did, I've already have a very good, I think, foundation of the cards and what many of them mean, and she's really the one who gave it to me. I won't go into it because it's all in her videos. You can look it up, but she talked to me about like very basic meanings of the different suits, such as wands means it is aligned with fire, which represents passion and creativity and destruction, but like the eventual creation out of that destruction, things such as that. Swords deal with air and intellectual pursuits, conversation, in a way relationships. You could say that, but debates, things like that, and on and on. She also went into the different numbers, their meanings. I'm still trying to grasp that a little bit, but aces represent often possibility. Twos represent duality, balance. Threes, a foundation, something that you can build upon, and fours, that building, and on and on. So definitely watch those videos because they give you just a very good basic understanding of different elements of tarot, and ways that you can remember it by. And different methods of remembering those things, such as pathworking, journaling. Journaling is something that I really took to heart with what she was saying. I got this book today, actually. If you guys can see it, it's so cool. It like shines. It's so pretty. But I picked it up at Barnes & Noble today, because I want to start really digging into tarot and what the different cards mean, and understanding it on a kind of almost subconscious level that I can bring out if I need to in any future readings. Excuse me. Where am I going with that? Which I think is important. I think it's, in a lot of ways, it is like shadow work. And if you guys don't know what that is, it is basically delving into the shadow aspects of yourself and trying to understand the things about yourself that either you kept hidden or you just haven't really been looking in on because they might be painful in some ways, or maybe it's not painful, maybe it's just that you haven't realized that about yourself yet and you're trying to discover it through journaling, through pathwork, or whatever it is. And I think that journaling about tarot in a lot of ways is like that. It's in a way understanding how you personally view symbolism and react to symbolism. It's how you react to certain words and to certain meanings and things like that. So it's just important, and it helps you to create very individualized readings and very specific readings, I think, that can have a lot of influence. So I am very excited about that. Where else was I going to go with this? I guess I'll talk about a little bit like why I want to do tarot and what I hope it does for my future. I've always really been interested in tarot. Just, I guess initially just from, not necessarily the shock factor, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but that kind of like, it's part of the occult, and I'm just naturally really interested in the occult, and, all the cool, creepy kids and all the cool, creepy movies that I've seen, they did tarot, and it's part of like an aesthetic and things like that. So, I mean, that's all part of like the initial response and the initial attraction to it. As I started watching more videos about it and doing a little bit more research on it and understanding the psychological benefits, the therapeutic benefits of it, that just cemented the interest into something that's a little bit deeper, I think. Something that I think for the future can create a lot of good. And through that, I discovered listings on Etsy, by certain people who I follow on YouTube. They all pretty much offer, tarot readings and things like that on their Etsy. And I saw that as a very good opportunity for myself. I struggle a little bit with this idea of like charging for things and things like that. But if I go through this level that I'm planning on going through of writing down my thoughts, taking very in-depth notes, reading books, and really just like developing a regiment and being very deliberate with my study of it. That time and energy, I think, so long as I'm good, could warrant a few pennies at least. And I like the idea of that, of developing that kind of side business for myself, not just for me, but I think, like I said, tarot can be very beneficent. Is that a word? I don't know. Beneficial. That's the word I'm looking for. Beneficial for, a lot of different people. You can really help them understand themselves more, understand the situations that they're finding themselves in more, and create that bond. And in general, like I really just want to, in general, help people. So I think tarot can help me do that, and it'd be great if I could also, if not have a living by it, then pad my already paltry living by it. So that's something that I'm interested in and looking forward to. I don't take it lightly, though. I understand that these are real people that I might be dealing with if I choose to go down this path. And with that comes, certain baggage, and they all have their own associations with the cards and, with different words, and you can risk offending them and, have some backlash, and there are skeptics, and, there are people who just are not at a healthy place in their life, and maybe tarot is not the right answer for them. Kellyanne was talking about getting people who come back again and again and again and ask the same question, and they're not getting the answer that they want, and sometimes you just have to say, maybe give the reading some time, or maybe you should go speak to a professional, or whatever it is. Like sometimes you have to be a little bit blunt, and assertive, which is scary. I think sometimes I come across as being a outgoing person, and in a lot of ways I am, but there's a very real part of me that is that doesn't want to be in a situation that doesn't want to create conflict, I guess. Usually in situations like that, I will just subtract myself from the picture. That's not always the best way, and certainly if you're going into a line of work that is going to thrust you into this communicative kind of environment where you have to speak to people and develop an understanding with those people, you have to build up these skills of asserting yourself and laying down the rules. So I think, but in that way, like, as scary as that is, and honestly, it makes me a little bit nervous, this idea of developing this business of readings, if it ever happens. It does make me a little bit nervous, but it's also exciting because I think it's a growing experience for myself, too, of becoming, in a way, like my own boss. It's exciting in that it'll help me, I think, probably with my relationships just in general. Developing that assertiveness with my friends and my family, and standing my ground a little bit, and being more insightful with not just my friends and family who I already have an understanding with, but maybe with the strangers that I meet, day to day, understanding a little bit where they're coming from intuitively. So yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to talk about. Like I said, I'm very excited about it. I'm going to be doing a lot more research on it. So in the future, I'll probably make more videos. Maybe I'll even do a couple of readings on here. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, exciting. So thank you guys for listening to me. I hope you guys have a really great night. Thank you.